G'day, Greg.
Prime Minister, how you going?
Mate, I'm well. How are things up in the Curry?
Oh, fantastic at the moment. We've had a little bit of rain overnight.
What's it looking like out there?
Oh, it's dry around, but the Bureau's predicting a wetter than normal season, or a good positive season. So everyone's actually looking forward to a really positive year, or end of the year.
Mate, it was great to get your letter the other week to hear that you're putting this poetry competition in place. That was a lovely thought. And I really appreciated the invitation to sort of be involved. I rang my cousin, Gillian, who grew up as, where you took us to, where Greenwood used to be. Gosh, that was several years ago now, wasn't it? That was quite a while ago. We went out there together. But and so I gave Gillian a call and asked if, because she's obviously Dame Mary's great-granddaughter, and she was rapt to be involved. She lives in Townsville these days, has for many, many years. Works there with her husband, Rob. And so I think that'll be tremendous. And so she's mad keen to be involved. And so I know I've been hooking her up and her contact details with you guys. But I think it's tremendous to have these sorts of things. It'll hopefully see another great bush poet come out of the Curry or the wider reaches. I think that's just what the doctor ordered at the moment, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, it started off, seeing everyone was in lockdown, and there was all the stories coming out about the novel things people were doing to keep entertained. I thought, why not try and capitalise on the free time that people have got, and reignite that passion about what it means to be Australian. And at a minimum, we'll get people doing something and being passionate about Australia, making them think about the bush, trying to promote outback tourism, and at best, do we find a new Dame Mary or a new Dorothea McCullough or a new Bango?
Yeah. Well, a big part. I remember when we came up to Julia Creek, and not long after the floods, and we got together, in the town hall there, and there was the obvious discussion we're having about the devastation of the floods and what was needed and how it was impacting businesses and stations, but the even bigger point that was being made, I thought, was what all of this would mean as a threat to the lifestyle of that entire region, and how the flood put that all at great risk, as it wiped out herds of breeding of over 30 years, a generation and more. And I think the celebration of not just the economics of all of what the cattle industry and the many industries of the north actually represent, but it is the way of life. It is the lifestyle, and that's what I thought Dame Mary had an amazing way of expressing. She understood it obviously incredibly well and loved it. That's why I think she really wanted her ashes to be taken back up to Cloncurry, to be put to rest there with her husband Bill, and to be there for all time. And I think that celebration of the lifestyle is a good thing to remind everybody about, because it's so much a part of the region. It isn't just what everyone does, but it's the way life is lived, and that's a really important part of what Australia is all about. And it's helpful for us who come from a long way away, I think, to get an experience of that. And it certainly charmed me from a very young age, and so I'm keen to see it continue to be celebrated. And so I could think of no one better than Gillian on my behalf to make sure that we're picking some good ones. It was, in fact, Auntie Robin, Uncle Bill's wife, a friend of hers, I think it was, sent me a poem called Billy Gilmore's Ringer from that trip I'd made up from a few years ago. It was a beautiful poem. It was very encouraging, so I was very appreciative of that. But again, it just spoke of the way people stand by each other, and that's how you get through those really difficult times. I mean, it's coming up to 2 years now, isn't it, Greg? The floods. So it's hard to imagine that time has gone that fast, and you've gone through drought again, and now hopefully looking to see some better times in terms of the rains, but certainly not like we saw them almost 2 years ago.
No, we just got our fingers crossed for a normal, sensible wet season that grows better grass and really lifts people's spirits. We really love a green Christmas.
Yeah, a green Christmas. That's a good one. So are you seeing many people come up from other parts of Queensland and visit out in the outback and taking that opportunity, given that, they can't travel overseas and they can't move to other states and do that at the moment in the way they normally could? Are you seeing much more tourism coming through the region?
The numbers are still generally down, but
Right.
it's people are, I think, making more of an effort that can travel to travel.
Yeah.
I know my cousin from Dalby who's hadn't travelled out here before, hooked their caravan up, and they normally go to the Tweed or somewhere, and they did a long-reach Winton Cloncurry trip.
Okay.
That's just one example of how Queenslanders were looking over their back fence and coming to check out what we've got to offer, and they had a great week. And I think we can really offer that. We've got some great stories to tell, some great landscapes to see. We've got a great state to visit.
You always get a good meal at the bolo too, mate. I think that's also true. So, look, I want to thank you also for the great work you've done for us, Greg, on the drought task force with Shane Stone too. And I think they've done some tremendous work in supporting people, not just up in North Queensland, because it originally started when you came on board as a floods response, and it then merged together with the work we were doing on drought. And that has seen us take some steps, which I announced at the Drought Summit recently, in New South Wales. We're getting more people out in community and working with local communities on how the build back happens. And I think that was one of the big lessons we learned from the floods is, the work done with the Queensland government, obviously, but also yourselves and everyone on the ground, and just making sure that what we were doing was firmly grounded on what the response was from locals. And hopefully, I think that's made a big difference. And I certainly get plenty of Cheerios from up north about that. And hopefully we're maintaining that pace, Greg. And I have no doubt, though, if we weren't, you'd let me know pretty quick.
Yeah, as just 2 years on almost, and the people of the Northwest haven't forgotten your support and your government support, and we're still seeing that because there's still those grant opportunities available for people. For me personally, I feel I'm not doing enough to help these days, that I'm not on the committee. So if there's another job you want to throw my way, happy to help and take up the challenge.
Good stuff. Well, it's good to talk to you again, Greg. All the best, mate. Thanks for spending the time, and all the best with the poetry competition. Dame Mary will be very proud, and I look forward to seeing some of the entries, and I know Gillian's looking forward to being involved. Thanks very much for the invitation to be involved.
Authorised by S. Morrison, Liberal Party, Canberra.